Good morning, everybody. It's Monday morning, and that means that you're probably thinking about what you've got coming up. You're probably getting your head into your week, and maybe you're still reminiscing a little bit about the weekend. This interview today is going to help you set yourself up for success this week, but also it's going to give you a little bit of an insight into how your mind works, how you can think yourself into a better, more productive and positive environment. And the guy that's going to be helping to get this message across today is a very awesome person, and his name is Darren Toms, and he's here right now live.
Good morning. Good morning.
So Darren, there's this like aura that you bring to what you do, to social media, to the way that you talk and the way that you work with people, that really just booms this clarity and dominance in positive thought. So there's so much I'm excited about talking to you about today.
Sure.
Let's start with who are you? What do you do? And why is that world map behind you so what's the word? Such an important reference.
Yeah, relevant. Well, yeah, it's interesting. I've just been looking at my my travel plans for the next, I think it's 8 weeks, and I'm off to about 6-7 different countries. I have to have 2 passports because I travel so much, with kind of like one message, which is how to thrive at work. But really, when I was talking about thrive at work, it's about being passionate about what you do. And it's brilliant that this interview is on a Monday morning, because I think so many people wake up on a Monday morning. And I don't know many. Tommy, you're one of these people, but there's not many people who wake up and go, yes, 5 days of work. Most people go, right, I've got to get out of bed. I've got to go to work. I've got to get through the week so that I can make it either to Friday evening, the next holiday, or just, any time when I'm not working, which for me is just crazy. So my whole business is about thriving at work and in life. And the reason for this is very simple. A few years ago, so my background is investment banking. I spent 18 years with JP Chase. And I met a lot of people in JP who were really, really well paid, but they were really stressed and unhappy. And that didn't just affect them during the week. It also affected them at the weekend as well. And they got locked into this negative cycle. So I did a bit of a survey, and I noticed during this survey that on average, we work on any day that we're working, 81% of the time we are awake. On a weekday, we're at work. This is an average. Some were lower, some were higher. For 5 days out of 7, 48 weeks a year for 45 years or more. And so my whole passion is teaching people how to thrive mentally, and also that has a big impact on the physical well-being as well. So there's a real relationship between mind and body. But ultimately, it's about waking up and deciding, who am I going to be today? And it's not necessarily on the days when things are going great. It's kind of like when things are happening that you don't like, how can you choose who you're going to be, and how can that then impact and influence what happens next? So that's me, really.
Awesome. Now, we have spoken before and we meet regularly, but we've only really known each other for the best part of 6 months, really.
Yeah.
And we actually met because you actively post on Instagram, and I'd noticed the when they started doing the stories, you had the ability to click on a hashtag, and the hashtag of Andover was there. And I clicked on it, obviously where we live, where we call home. Yeah. And I saw this guy talking about this mindset stuff, and I was like, "What? How do I not know him?" And I'm like, "This is what it's all about, you know." And I thought, this is really cool. Reached out to you, we connected, we met for a coffee, we talked, we got on really well, and now we're accountable to each other. We meet up every single month, don't we? And we talk about this thing, and we talk about that thing. And what's really exciting now for me is that you're going to be speaking at the Super Self Summit, because we're going to have a room full of people that are there to become the best version of themselves, to become their super self. And so much of it is going to be about the way that they use this, the way they think. And, I'm all about that in what I do. So I'm going to be like talking about that and putting that message across the whole 2 days. But it's great to have that backed up by you, because who is it that you usually work with? Like, what sort of person, what sort of people?
So actually, Tommy, I'm super excited to be able to walk into a room where people want to be there. Most of my work is with the corporate audience. And it's with companies, I'm not necessarily going to name them here, but it's with companies that people will recognize. And, you know, I do corporate events and corporate speaking, corporate training, corporate coaching. And people come in, and some people want to be in the room, but most of them are, you know, they're what I call training prisoners. They're in the room, but they've just been sent there. But it's really interesting because I've had people come up to me after they've attended either a 1 day, 2 day, 3 day course with me. And I've connected with them later, and they've said, Darren, you have changed my life. And I've said, well, how has that happened? So I've asked them what they've done. And then I make a small correction because it wasn't me who changed their life. You see, I think a lot of the stuff that you and I do is about motivating people. But one thing that I've learned in my corporate life is that you cannot motivate people. And one of my stuff about doing leadership training is you cannot motivate anyone to do anything, but you can influence them. And it's interesting, you said, you know, our hometown Andover, where we live. Well, I take a slightly different view of where we live. I ask people where they live, and they'll give me a geographical location. So I'm relatively new to Andover. I moved here just 2 years ago. And but you ask people where they live, they'll give you a geographical location. For me, it's slightly different. We all live all of our life here, inside our mind. And we get data in through these 5 senses. So when people say, you know, oh, Darren, you changed my life, that's not true. All they did was they sat in a room, they heard me speak, they had a thought about it, and then they took action. And it's a little bit like New Year's resolutions. We always have these New Year goals. And I'm so pleased that this summit is taking place in February, not January, because it's so easy to create goals and when you're fueled with emotion. But when that emotion is gone, you're left with one thing, and that is purpose and value. Nice. Which is why, I mean, you know this in your business, you know, gyms are full in January and empty by the end of February because people lose the purpose. So one of the things that we'll be talking about is in terms of creating your success, whatever that means for you. And, you know, all of us have different visions of what success means. We'll look at what does success look like for me individually? And then how can I not just set the goal and do it on day one, but how can I sustain that, you know, both physically and mentally? But it all starts here. And it's all about habits, you know, and habits are really easy, are really interesting, because if I ask people to fold their arms, they'll do it like this, very easy, unconsciously, don't even think about it. But if I ask you to fold your arms the other way, that is uncomfortable. And it takes a little bit of conscious thought, and it's a bit weird. And if this is success yesterday, and this is success for the rest of my life, but this is uncomfortable, I'll just keep doing what I've always done, even though it's sabotaging my future. So what we'll be talking about is how to think in a more useful way. I must say, it's not about being a positive thinker. I'm not one of these like, whoa, yeah, everything is great. You know, if I come home one day, my house is burned down, my wife's left me in the car, and the dog has died, I'm not going to sit there going, yeah, but think positive. Yeah, because that's not it. It's actually about how can I think in a way that adds value to me today and long into the future. And that's really that premise for the talk that I'll be doing with you guys. And I'm so excited about being able to do it.
Yeah, and I'm really excited about it as well, because I think that the expectation that is associated with an event of this style, being inspiration, motivation, education, with, you know, backed up with the content that I produce on a regular basis, it can have that little bit of expectation around like the whole motivational pump. And yes, people are going to feel completely pumped and jacked. That is going to happen.
Yes.
What we want to do is we want to make sure that there's some practical application, and also the education part of inspiration, motivation, education is so important. If you understand what you're doing, why you're doing it, and you create that link between the outcome and the thought, which is what, you know, you're going to help to get that message across, then it's such a powerful thing. One of the things that I really liked actually that you put out there a few months ago was about I believe it was like you can't always have optimistic people around you.
Yes.
The recipe for success does include people are naturally pessimistic, and you gave an example of like crossing a road, I believe.
Yeah.
Would you mind putting that across now?
Well, I think as we travel through our life, we'll face different situations, right? And I said, I think the video that you were referencing was about why positive thinking isn't always the right thing. Why I'm not a positive thinker. And the analogy I use is, if you're doing a parachute jump, who would you want to be checking your parachute? An optimist or a pessimist?
That's it, yeah.
But if we take that ownership part, if I was checking my own parachute, my mindset in that moment would need to be, I need to be a pessimist. I need to mitigate risk. I need to look at what could go wrong. But when I'm at 5, 6, 7, 8,000 feet, and I've got the parachute on my back and I'm facing out the door and I'm having that thought, right, what do I do now? The pessimist needs to go. Now I need to be an optimist. I've done the pessimistic thinking. Now I need to go for it. So there are going to be times in life when you do need to have thoughts that are relevant for the situation you're in. So if you're having a good day, it's easy to feel good. It's easy to go to the gym. It's easy to get outside. But if you're having a bad day, and my guess is people will probably have more bad days than they'll have good days. And all of those bad days add up. But actually, you don't really have bad days. All that happens is things happen and you have bad thoughts about them. And that creates the feeling that it's a bad day. But no one's really ever had a bad day. They've just had bad moments that they make bigger than they really are. And that all starts with the way that you think. And there's a time, as I mentioned, there's a time to be positive and there's a time to mitigate risk. And, we'll certainly cover that on the summit as well, which is why I'm not a positive thinker. Sometimes I'm not positive. Ask my kids; they'll tell you. I got 3 of them. They don't think I'm Mr. Positive.
Very interesting point, and appreciate the honesty in putting that point across. So let's talk a little bit about the health and the marriage of health and wealth, as you refer to quite a lot, and how important that is. And share a little bit about your own personal health journey.
Yeah, interesting. So I was relatively fit growing up, but I got into martial arts a lot. I became a martial arts instructor with both jiu-jitsu and Shotokan karate. I did kickboxing as well. This was in my 20s and early 30s. I'm 47 now, 48 later this year, and interesting, I started traveling around about 7.5 years ago, and I fell into that trap. Oh man, it was terrible. Staying in hotels 35 weeks a year, and then I'd have the breakfast, the snacks, the lunch, the snacks, the dinners, the drink, and you do that once, it's fine. You don't get fit by going to the gym once, and you don't get fat by having one meal once, but you do get fit by constantly going to the gym, and you do get fat by constantly eating badly. And over a 3-year period, I noticed that, should we say, my clothes were getting smaller. And it comes back to purpose as well, doesn't it? Because I was in Farnborough. I had 30 ladies in the room, 8:30 in the morning, to spend a whole day with them, talking about mindset. I'm wearing a suit, 8:30 in the morning. I bend over and my suit trousers rip. And I thought, oh my God. So I spent the whole day kind of just facing the room. Are you coming to join us for lunch? No, I'm not hungry. I was starving, but I really didn't want to go, So, and again, that links to purpose, because I then realized, you know what, as I get older, I realized that health is wealth. Traveling around the world, I need my health to be able to do my work. And also, I think I don't really have a lot of credibility if I'm talking about world-class performance, looking like I spend all day in the pub. You know what I mean? All day in McDonald's, that sort of stuff. So I changed my eating habits. I lost 20 kilos in 6 months. And I even spent, the following year, I spent 3 weeks on a holiday in America with my family and came back lighter than when I left. All because of purpose. So I decided, and it is a choice, and you're either making this consciously or unconsciously. And I just decided to do it consciously, a little bit like folding the arms the wrong way around, that I would change my eating habits. And that for me is so important, because I spend a lot of time traveling, and we all spend a lot of time at work. And if we're exhausted at work, because we're unhealthy, either physically or mentally, that leaks into my valuable weekend time or holiday time. And I just don't want that anymore. So I'll park further away from the supermarket door, and walk. I'll take the stairs rather than the lifts and elevators where practical. And even when I travel, I never sit down in an airport. I'm always walking up and down. Why? Because motion creates emotion. It just makes you feel better. So that for me is absolutely vital.
Awesome. And another reason why you're going to be such a valuable asset to the lineup at the Super Self Summit and connecting the message of mindset with health. I think that there are a lot of people who are fantastic at what they do as a coach, coaching people with mindset, NLP, various different techniques, yet their own physical health isn't high enough on their priority list. Simple as that, really, for them to put the time and to be on a journey. I think as long as you're on a journey, it doesn't matter where you're at. I'm not here to judge, or are you here to judge? But what we are saying is that you have to take it seriously. It is part of you. Whatever you do, whether you're a speaker, whether you're a coach, whether you are someone who runs a business, or whether you're a fantastic employee, or whether you're a great mum or great dad, and that's what you do, you will do it so much better if your health is higher on your priority list, because mentally, physically, and emotionally, you're going to perform better. That's going to help everything and everyone around you. And that really is the key message. That's what super self means, really. It's becoming the best you can be.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because I think coming back to purpose, one of the reasons I really wanted to focus on my health, my eldest daughter is 20, my youngest is 18. So I've got 3 kids. I've got 2 18-year-olds and a 20-year-old. Not twins, but that's for a different time. And one of the things I realized a few years ago was, at some point, it's likely that I'm going to be a grandparent, which scares the hell out of me because I still don't feel that old, but my knees tell me differently. But at some point, I'm going to be a grandparent. And when I am a grandparent, I want to have the energy to enjoy my grandchildren. I want to go down the park. I want to be able to take them out. So that for me, again, is purpose. Now, I don't expect, I don't know, but I don't expect to be a grandparent for a long time. But when it happens, I don't want to be playing catch up. So, who am I being today with that? Or how is what I am doing right now helping me create a future that I want, even if it's not instant, So sometimes, you can't plant an acorn and shout at it for a week and expect it to grow into an oak tree. It has to be nurtured, and we have to take care of our own self before we can lead anyone else as well. Before we can help anyone else, we've got to look at ourselves. We can't pour from an empty cup, as the saying goes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love it. I'm so happy that you're going to be doing a fantastic hour-long speaking slot for us at the Super Self Summit. It's going to be epic. Darren, where can people find and follow you?
Okay, well, if you Google the name, I guess, Darren Toms, you'll see me. I think there's a radio guy from Cleveland as well in America who's also, but he's got a moustache. It's just not me. But yeah, I mean, I'm on YouTube. So Google YouTube. I'm on Facebook. So I've got my Facebook page, and I've also got the Thrive community there as well, which is a closed group all about really, it's kind of like discussion based about how to thrive at work. And obviously, you referenced it earlier, Instagram as well. Instagram is a great platform for sharing short, sharp stuff that just gets people motivated. And you never know. But I've had a couple of people say to me, Darren, that update you shared a couple of days ago, in that moment, that's what I wanted to hear. And I'm only going to tell you now, maybe a couple of days later. So you never know those small things. You might not get instant feedback, but I love that it can help somebody. And if you can help somebody help themselves, I think you've had a great day.
Definitely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for doing this interview, Darren.
My pleasure.
We're going to be having such a great time at the Super Self Summit in just under 3 weeks' time.
Gosh, yeah.
So I will speak to you before that, obviously, but thank you so much for adding value to the viewers today. We hope that you've enjoyed yourselves. Remember, this video is going to it's going to live on Facebook for a few days. So if you have any comments or questions, please fire away. We'll both see them. Until then, take care of yourself. And yes, have an amazing week. Darren, last words.
Don't have an amazing week. Make it an amazing week, because it won't be one unless you do something to make it happen.
Love it. Action. Action is key. See you later, mate. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. Okay.